Yo, what's going on guys, KrypticTMG back with a brand new video, and we're going to be talking about LMU and the new update, sort of like a review of how I'm feeling about the game so far and all the little things that I've seen that may be a pro or a negative or whatever. But yeah, just off the cuff, I'm just going to give my feelings on the game at the moment. And yeah, hope you guys do stick around for this video. Leave in the comment section below your thoughts and feelings on the game at the moment. Let's get stuck into the video. So it's been 3 days since the game came out, and just like you guys, I've been playing it non-stop since the release on the 22nd. And for me, it's just nice to see so many people on. I've been watching streams, I've been watching other creators, watching other guys sim race, you know, and it feels like we haven't had something this fresh for such a long time, where pretty much everybody just feels like everyone's just on the game right now. So, you know, I'm jumping in races sometimes past midnight and it's still full with quality drivers, and it's just in a healthy place, man. So it's really good to see, considering where this game was. And you know, certain people had so much to say about what they thought about the game and where they thought the game was going, or they didn't feel like it would succeed. And to be honest, it's done probably better than most people expected. But you know, at the end of the day, I saw it, man. I saw the vision, I saw the potential, and they are definitely working their way to fulfilling that. So at the moment, for me personally, I feel like the game's in a great space. The changes they made for the tire update, I know there's some people that didn't quite like it, but my feeling is it's going to take a couple of weeks to marinate, and then most people are going to be on board with what they've done, because I also do feel like it slightly has opened the door for some lesser used cars to have a little bit more shine on them, a bit more of a chance. And maybe some people will start driving Corvettes now. Maybe some people will start driving some of the other cars they thought were too sketchy to drive. You know, you can still have that, you know, awkward moment with the car snaps on you. Of course, it's not as brutal as it was before, and I do feel like that's a good thing on a whole. We're not talking from a esports driver or a pro driver's perspective. At the end of the day, those guys are going to be able to adapt to pretty much anything you throw at them. They're the very best of the best. But we do also have to think about the guys that are coming in, the newer guys that are, you know, have a different skill gap. So, you know, with that being said, I do feel like this game is now catering towards everyone. And I said it previously in one of my streams, you have to think about it from this point of view. Just imagine this game was to go on sale on console on the previous patch. You know, people are going to spend their money and jump on the game, and all of a sudden it's going to be the most cutthroat game they've probably ever played. You know what I mean? And you know, a lot of those guys are, I don't want to say casuals, but maybe not as infused into the sim racing world as these hardcore PC gamers spending thousands and thousands on their rigs and setups and stuff. So I do feel like it's in the perfect place right now. If it went to console, subtract the bugs, because I know there is some bugs out there. I don't suffer with them, so it's very hard for me to comment on the bugs. There are a few things that I will talk about that I have noticed, but in general, minus the bugs, I feel like this game would be console ready, and a lot of people on console would enjoy this. Me being someone formerly as a console player, you know, I would have loved a game like this to come out. You know, WEC represents the real sport pretty much perfectly. Hypercars, LMP2s, GT3s, GTEs even though I feel like the bop's not the best with those, but still there's quite a lot of variation. Online championships, the online structure for console would be amazing on this game. It would be something else that I feel like they don't really have. I know you've got Gran Turismo and stuff like that, but for me, this is, you know, they've got it spot on. You know, this sort of daily racing system can pretty much rival anything at the moment. And it's consistent races, it's quick, it's repetitive. So if you want to practice, you can keep on just jumping in and you know, get into grips with the track. And, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like they done the main thing that people would have been looking for. You know, no one wants to really just jump in frivolous online lobbies and just driving around hoping that you might get a good race. The majority of the time, the races are decent. So with that being said, let's get stuck into how the game feels and the GT3s, the tire model, and what I think about the extra rear grip, which they does seem to be more rear grip, which is why people are driving around with lower TC. Now, do I feel like the zero TC meta can become a thing on LMU like it was on ACC? Not quite. I feel like once you get to open setups and you can make the cars more aggressive, I don't feel like people are going to be running 0 TC in that sense. People are running 0 TC and very low TC now because in general, in fixed setup, the cars are extremely understeery, particularly if you are picking the front engine monsters. Those cars have a lot of understeer, so that is why you're seeing people running such low TC settings to help them rotate the car, and it does work. There definitely is a little bit more grip to help people out, but what I will say is you know, make sure you practice these things. I've tried the Mercedes AMG. You can definitely get away with running the TC slip at least on 0. Okay, you can run maybe like 110 or 210, stuff like that. You can have it pretty low in the AMG, and it actually needs it on fixed. But what I have seen, which has been a little bit disappointing, I've seen a lot of people that have, you know, jumped on, tried the game after the update and had sort of a negative connotation towards how this feels and the cars are too understeery and stuff. And for me personally, I feel like judging a game based off of just a fixed setup without knowing the nitty gritty, without actually getting stuck into the fabric of the game and the things that you have to change, building setups, working on the cars. I know a lot of people don't like those sorts of things, but it's time to just be honest with those people that you are playing a sim. Setups is literally part of racing. In the real world, you don't see, you know, you don't go to a real world and the mechanics don't touch the car, don't fiddle with the setup and just leave it and send the drivers out and that's how they have to race. That's not the reality of, you know, the interest that we have. The reality is setup based. It's always going to be setup based. Whether you have enough time to do setups or not, that's not really down to the people that create the game. They have to create it balanced, and that is a major factor of, you know, sim racing. So to judge a game based off of effectively what is a fixed safe setup is crazy to me. You know, you wouldn't jump on ACC, load up the safe setup and be blown away with how the car handles. That's not going to happen. So why do people expect to just jump on and expect it to be amazing without any sort of changes whatsoever? You have to fiddle with the cars. The majority of people would probably struggle with some of the more aggressive setups, so therefore the setups are safe and easy for people to use, you know, and that's given people a sort of notion that everything's just understeer when it's not. All you have to do is, you know, play with the setup a little bit and you can definitely get the cars handling how you want them to, and you can definitely get the cars rotating. So for me, don't judge the game until you're actually at least, you know, testing out different things, you know, because to me it doesn't make sense. How are you going to judge things about a game when you're just doing the basics? You're not even, you know, taking a deep dive or anything. For me, I will never judge a game before I've played it enough to say I don't like this and I don't like that. So that's my 2 pence on it. But what I would say is the open setups definitely seem to have the cars a little closer in BOP. Definitely, I've seen some fast times in quite a few different cars now, so I'm happy with that. I'm happy in the space that it's in with the BOP for the most part. I still do believe some cars do have quite a big edge, and I hope, you know, I hope that gets grinded down a little bit. I feel like a lot of the BOP questions and problems mainly are going to come down to the tires, because for instance, when you do a race that has no tire warmers, and let's say you're doing that race in a Ferrari, the Ferrari is pretty good on cold tires. It heats its tires up pretty well. So if you've only got eight minutes to set a lap, the Ferrari's going to get to its peak a lot quicker than say a Ford or an Aston Martin, where by the end of the session you're still going to be struggling to get the absolute maximum out of the tires. And okay, that will benefit you in the race because you will have less tire wear, so your race pace should be a lot stronger by the end. But the problem is, it just depends on how many people pick the Ferraris, pick the Lambos, and then you get out qualified by them, and then, you know, you have to try and fight your way back through, which is kind of, you know, it's kind of a issue that I'm kind of okay with, because to me, with the potential of this game, I see this game as an endurance game. I don't see this game as a 20-minute, you know, just 20-minute races, half-an-hour races. Those things are cool, but I feel like the ultimate potential of this game is an endurance game. So when you think about that, you think about longer stints, double stint in tires. I feel like that's where you're going to see the true BOP of the cars, which is why I don't want to judge the BOP at the moment. I do believe there are some cars that are just way faster, but until we get to the stage where we're having big endurance races with driver swaps and stuff like that, that to me is where you're going to see the true, that's where you're going to see the true foundation of how well the BOP is done. Because for instance, let's say right now, the Ferrari versus the Ford. The Ferrari for me is a lot quicker, okay? But I would also say the Ferrari definitely wears its tires a lot more than the Ford. So if we put those two cars against each other over an hour stint, I still believe the Ferrari would be quite a substantial way down the road. But then if you put that into endurance race, you put that into context and saying maybe you do a 12-hour race, but you only have 8 sets of tires, and then you have to double stint a set of tires, then does the Ford come back into it against the Ferrari? And those are the questions I feel like we're not going to get the answer to until we start seeing these big races. So I get it. I get why there might be a disparity between cars a little bit. Still, maybe things need to be, different setups need to be used for the shorter races, because for me on fix in the shorter races between some cars, it's not particularly close. So maybe that is something they need to work on some of the setups for the short races for some of the cars that are really struggling for pace. And I feel like if they can do that, then I'm happy with, you know, how the BOP is at the moment. Other than that, we've got the Valkyrie, which has just been amazing. I wish it wasn't on Monza, because, bro, I've seen some of the funniest clips of the Valkyrie going around at Monza, man. It is pretty insane, but the car's amazing. The fact that we got the AMG and the Valkyrie for free has just been like, wow. And guys, already we know exactly what we're getting. We know what's coming in the future. We know we're getting more. So right now, I'm happy with how the update feels. I'm happy with where the game's at. A few things that I would say that are problematic at the moment. I would say the virtual energy, a lot of the time in the pit lane, the virtual energy is not matching up with the virtual energy you have on track. So you can maybe under fuel or over fuel at the moment, because it's just not synced one-to-one at the moment, which can be a little bit annoying, but hopefully that's another thing that got fixed. I feel like they tried to patch the drive-through penalties that people were getting at the beginning of the race. Hopefully that's gone. It's happened to me a couple of times already. Hopefully that's something they get rid of, because obviously your driver rating is pretty important, you know, for where you stand in the lobby. You don't want to be seeing people getting drive-through penalties for no reason, just ruining their race. What else happened? Yeah, I would say as well, still the driver ranking is better, but still needs to be tweaked, because I've had a race where I qualified completely out of position. I took the Ford around Interlagos, just couldn't get a lap in quali, could not get tire heat into the tires at all. So I ended up starting like, I don't know, maybe 7th or 8th. But then I won the race, and I still got negative driver rating, even though, you know, I was ranked number 1. I finished number 1 and still got a negative driver ranking. So as I said before, I do feel like qualifying is, I mean, it's important, but the race is, you know, the race is what really matters. So regardless, I think qualifying should be maybe bonus points, but I don't particularly think that if you don't qualify well, it should negatively affect your rank, because at the end of the day, if you don't qualify well, but you still have a good race and still win, that's all that matters. You know, if in the real world, if you don't qualify well, but you still win the race, no one talks about, yeah, but you're terrible in qualifying. It doesn't matter, you won. You know, it's all about the race at the end of the day. So I would hope that's something that they could, you know, maybe mess with. I've never really been a fan of losing rank in qualifying, because a lot of that just depends on, you might take a car that's not the favored car, you might take a car that's not the OP car, so why does it matter what you've done in quali, you know? But, you know, that's the way they've gone at the moment. I would like to see that maybe changed, but yeah, just little things I would say at the moment. And as I said before, I know there's a lot of bugs. I did hear somewhere that I think you had to turn off some of the third-party apps or something like that to stop the game from crashing. I know a lot of people are having crashes and stuff like that, so apparently you need to turn off the third-party apps that you might have. So I'm not sure that is. I don't really have any. I think I have tiny pedals, but I don't use it. All the third-party apps that I actually had, I don't really use. The only thing I use is Motec, and for whatever reason, I must be one of the lucky ones. I don't really get crashes, so I'll get a few freezes here and there. Maybe I get a crash if I stay in the lobby for too long. But other than that, I generally don't really get these big problems that other people are having. So hopefully after this video, that's helped people sort some things out. Other than that, man, yeah, I feel like the game's in a good place. It's definitely building up. What I've said previously before, things I would like to see is, I would definitely like to see that weekly championship race streamed on YouTube or Twitch or on both. Dual stream it. At the end of the day, you have to think about it like this, man. If they were to stream the online championship, not only is it more eyes on the game, but just think of all the other benefits. For me, you know, you're gonna have drivers from other platforms that might be very good drivers thinking about coming towards LMU. They're gonna see a weekly championship race. You know, say if they stream the 7 o'clock race, the WC Experience race, the main one, stream that. You're gonna get people interested in that. It's gonna make people grind on the daily races to get their rank up, so they can be, you know, in the top split or the WEC Experience race or whatever. So it's gonna get a lot more people playing the daily races. It's gonna get a lot more people buying subscriptions so they can do the online championships. And then of course, it's gonna get a lot more views on the YouTube, which LMU again can monetize. So this is all, it's all full circle. It's all something that I believe that they should definitely be looking into. And you know, you've seen the success that, you know, LFM had with that. Every week they're streaming their pro series, and you know, it's just eyes on it at the end of the day. And for me personally, looking at LMU whenever it is broadcast, to me, no other game looks better as a broadcast than LMU does. So I would very much be in favor of a weekly stream. You know, get more people, get more fans interested in the championships, and I think it can work. I do. I know they'll probably have to find commentators and stuff like that, but yeah, something that they should look into for me, and I believe that it would pop off if they did that. But that's my 2 thoughts. That's my review of the game so far. I'm happy with it. I don't want to say too much because there's still a lot of things that I'm testing. I am going to be bringing out a video with the best TC settings for each car, so it's going to take a little bit of time to do. I'm going to do that for the fixed setup, because obviously for open setup, I do believe it's going to be a lot different. So I'll do one of those for fixed setup and try and get that done over the weekend by Sunday or something, so you guys can test it out for yourselves. But anyway, guys, it's KrypticTMG. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to catch my videos first, and peace.